I try to remember what you were talking about, but let's start with that. So you're talking about maybe 10 years ago, right? So back these days, Apple was very close. You could not do much on the iPhone from as a developer. On the other hand, Google had everything open. I mean, like almost everything, and that not only means from a developer perspective, what you can do on the phone, all the APIs, but also in terms of the Google Play Store. You can upload an application to your store. No one will even verify that. No one will look it on the app. You're not even automatic scanning of the apps. Permission usage was, if you could use it, then you can upload it to the store. Both Google and Apple did some changes. So Apple became a little bit more open. They gave the developers more options on one hand. Google started becoming more secure in their place. Let's talk about Android itself in a second. But today it's harder to upload an application to Google. There is some verification process for you as a developer for your app. They restricted a lot of things that you can do with your applications. Permissions were downgraded. I mean, you cannot do anything that you want to do as you used to be. And the whole operating system is becoming more secure. But again, we'll touch about it later. So things are changing all the time. And in the case of Google, they also have the problem of the large device variety. So you have so many devices out there, so many versions of the operating system, and they had to do some work in order to make sure that those that out there can maintain the security updates, and they did some good job there to be better and give manufacturers better support in upgrading the operating system, making the upgrade easier for them. We see it now by ourselves, so we launched our operating system based on Android 13. We are updating to upgrade Android 14 this year. The process is not very hard for us, even though we had a very big, we did many changes in the operating system based Android system for more security and for our needs. And it looks much better. Now, if we're talking about the Android operating system, Android used to be very light back these days. We are device manufacturers, so we are in charge of the operating system. I see the Android source. Actually, anyone can see the AOSP tree. We see the whole BSP tree, including the drivers and everything. And that is becoming a huge piece of code. And most of the changes are related to security. And more and more layers are added to make the operating system more secure. What is exposed to other apps? For example, something that used to be very open, even a few years ago, now much more closed. Stuff like that permission mechanism was evolved. What permission given to built-in applications on the phone. So Android became like a huge monster, and many code changes are made in the Android operating system to support this agenda. Having said that, the more code you add, the more vulnerabilities that you can potentially add to the operating system. That actually brings, a different topic because, we discussed about iOS versus Android. So iOS is closed source and Android is not. And many vulnerabilities are discovered because it's an open source on one hand. On the other hand, Apple closed source policy prevents someone from, take a look in the source code and find vulnerabilities. So I assume that potentially more vulnerabilities exist on Apple, even though probably they're much harder to be found.
That's interesting. Yeah, that is fascinating. The last time I looked at like the device architecture of iPhone versus Android, right? Just kind of a overarching architecture. It seemed like the iPhone kind of protects the user from the user, right? Like they have sandboxes for their apps, they have sandbox for their user space, they have it's separated from the operating system even, right?